get on with Genesis.
Okay.
Is there anything you had to say here before we start with this, Tim?
Well, you were mentioning about the seed, and Kurt was mentioning, as we get older, we tend to or be drawn to this, or we are awakened to it. It's kind of like the seed; it needs to be germinated or watered, and the more you begin to hear the truth, that kind of germinates. I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like the truth is like the seed in us, or germinates that life in us, or the desire for the truth.
Well,
It's like Yahuwah's want.
one thing I was trying to mention about this seed being like the human body is that we have, let's call it a 70-year, he did at one point, which we'll get into here, say 120-year life on the face of the earth, basically a portion to human average. What do we do with that? Our 70 years of living on the face of the earth, developing our basar flesh, everything we put into us, everything we intake through our minds, whether it's music or film or conversations or Bible study or pornography or history or religion or science, whatever we make of ourselves is a picture of what goes into the caterpillar, who then of his own body spins a chrysalis, and then inside that chrysalis morphs into a butterfly. And the butterfly that emerges is a product of all that basar flesh that the caterpillar ingested while it was in the caterpillar form, crawling around eating greens. And once the butterfly emerges, it now flies and drinks nectar from the blossoms. It's a whole different digestive system, a whole different propellant system. You might say, flying rather than crawling on little tiny legs. And the caterpillar chrysalis butterfly more metamorphosis is a beautiful picture that Yahweh gave us, I believe, of what our destiny is. We're born as the Vav man, the caterpillar type on the face of the earth. Everything that we ingest into our consciousness, into our mind, into our physical carne, somehow is turned into a slurry like that caterpillar, and then in that mem phase, and then noon into emerging out the other side of our death in the grave. Whoever is born on the face of the earth is subject unto death. That's just the way it goes. And then we are zodied unto this resh status because of what we chose to take in. And the question is, though it may be entertaining, is there any good that can come of what we focus our mind on as entertainment, as study, as recreation, being filled with violence and intrigue in the form of theater, movies, books? And that's exactly what Genesis 6 here is talking about. That's why, Kurt, I was talking about the ayin, the seed, the basar, the flesh, because it all plays into this chapter. Are we doing the same thing they were doing? Is there any way that we can make our future better for us? Is there any way that we can make our present better for us if we watch what we think, watch what we say, watch what we watch?
Well, and this whole chapter, everybody focuses on the Nephilim. This is where it's all introduced. And so I have a feeling you're going to take it in a totally different direction, and I can't wait to hear it. So,
okay, so let's get on to verse 1.
Tim, if you don't mind shutting your camera off.
Okay, so this is Genesis 6, verse 1. Vayehi ki hachal ha'adam larav al pnei ha'adama vebenot yiladu lahem. Okay, Vayehi. In Genesis, the first day of creation, Vayehi erev, Vayehi boker. And there came to be evening, there came to be morning. Vayehi, yod, hey, yod. Any Hebrew word with the combination of hey, vav, and yod all has to do with the verb to exist. So yod, hey, vav, hey means he who causes it to exist. This is vav, yod, hey, yod, or hey, yod, hey, or hey, vav, hey, or any combination of letters, just so you know. Aleph, hey, yod, hey is the word ehyeh, and it starts with the aleph, which is first person self-referential, but hey, yod, hey means he who exists. So this is comes to exist. Kaf, yod, remember the kaf is the open hand, yod means my, but kaf as a prefix means like or as or in similarity to or just like me. But kaf yod is translated for, thus, therefore, because, when, while. It's this transition word. Kaf yod as a word is very similar to just the letter vav. Then there's this hey, chet, lamed. Well, that was why I brought up the word in the previous 426 that said hey, vav, chet, lamed. This is just hey, chet, lamed. You can't find the word in the dictionary, in Klein's dictionary, spelled hey, vav, chet, lamed. So you have to know that the way to find the word is to realize yods and vavs are like wild cards that could be dropped in between other letters. Hey is a prefix meaning the, generally, and other than that, you could add other prefix letters like a bet or a nun or a mem or a lamed or a tav or a sheen to find out what is hey, chet, lamed. But it basically boils down to chet, lamed means to be secular or common, not necessarily bad, but it can mean to profane. But it can also, where you get the word challah bread, which is actually challah, challah bread means sweet or pleasant. But it can also mean sick and rusty. In Hebrew, you've got both sides of the same coin, and many words work that way. So here it's just translated, it came to exist that mankind became common, or a lot of them. Larav means to multiply, al penei, upon the face of ha'adamah, the land, the earth, and benot, benim, that's the masculine suffix, is generally translated children, meaning sons. Benot would be daughters, but bet tov is also daughters. Yalad is where we get the word lad in Scottish, or laddie. Lamed dalet, which is where you get the word child, which is you put the CH, and then yod is the ILD. So yalad is like the word ild of child. Lahem means to them. Okay, so men are multiplying on the face of the earth, and daughters are being born to them. Verse 2, and yirah, yod resh aleph, means to see or perceive or to understand or put on exhibition. B'nai ha-Elohim, sons of the Elohim. Now, this is where the big problem is that nobody knows what that means. I've heard it said that, oh, well, those are the ones that are humans that are called sons of God who are doing the right thing. And other people say, oh, no, those are fallen angels. There's no way to know. It's never told to us what it means. Elohim, Aleph Lamed Hey Yod Mem. Well, Aleph Lamed Hey, if you look in the dictionary, means to deify, gods. Okay, that's where you get a guy like, the legend of Thor, the son of Zeus, who appeared as a swan and fornicated with some human woman. And it's like, well, that's where it comes from, is Genesis chapter 6. The sons of Elohim saw on exhibition the benot ha'adam, the daughters of man, that they were tet bet tov. Well, tet bet or tet vav bet is the word tov, which is good, which is a full basket. And behold, hine, yod kuf chet, seize or take hold lahem, nashim, makal asher bacharo. They seized and took hold of them, women of any that they chose. Bachar is to choose or select or elected. So here it is, the sons of Elohim took of the daughters of men because they thought, hey, that's pretty good. Who are the sons of Elohim? Are they angels? Are they fallen angels? Never said. And so Hank Hanegraaff, Bible Answer Man, years ago said angels were not equipped with the junk, the apparatus by which to have reproductive abilities with humans. So these can't be angels. These must be a type of human. It doesn't say. Some people believe that there were different kinds of humanoids made on the face of the earth, that Cain picked a wife from, let's call them Neanderthals or Cro-Magnon. They weren't Homo sapien. Nobody knows. It's all speculation. It's all conjecture. There's no way to know. Verse 3, Vayomer Yahweh lo yadon ruachi ba'adam leolam be shagam hua basar va hio imim me ve ashrim shana. Have you ever heard of a little matter called the Battle of Evermore? Does anybody know what I'm talking about when I say the Battle of Evermore? You can turn on your mics if you do.
I've never heard it.
That sounds familiar, but I couldn't articulate well enough to explain it. But it's sounds familiar.
I have Google right in front of me, so I can.
Huh?
Yeah. I have Google right in front of me, so I can figure it out pretty quick.
That's in a Led Zeppelin song, isn't it?
It's the Led Zeppelin song.
That's what it is.
Now, let me say a little bit about this, just because back in the day, Led Zeppelin was my favorite band. But anyway, back in the 70s, mid 70s, I Googled it because I heard the Battle of Evermore. What the heck? Why am I bringing up a Led Zeppelin song? Played primarily, Jimmy Page was on the mandolin, and they had another singer, a lady that was singing with Robert Plant. There's 3 songs on the Led Zeppelin 4 album, which they say are playing off of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings book series. So what does that got to do with anything? J.R.R. Tolkien was a contemporary of C.S. Lewis, and supposedly he was writing the Lord of the Rings book as some type of a metaphor, an analogy of life on Earth, and humans were a very small part of the book, but it was like this war of the worlds, the war of the heavens, the war of the dark forces against the forces of light. And some people think that the book Lord of the Rings is one of the best books ever written. Some people think it's an abomination. It's atrocious. It's bringing in the realm of what we would call sword and sorcery, which with wizardry and fighting. That's what we're talking about. Remember what I said a few minutes ago about this idea of what we read, what we watch, what we think about, the music we listen to, and that it sets up in our minds all sorts of contemplations of sorcery and war. Well, that's what humans are subject to. And so if we look back at Adam, Seth, and Enosh and say, well, humanity's function is to carry this burden of how do we deal with the unseen world, the occult, the forces of evil, the angels and demons. Who are these stinking Nephilim that are these giants who are wrecking the place? How do we deal with them? And the next word, Kuf Yod Nun Nun, we have to make stuff. We have to make houses. And like the big bad wolf, the Nephilim comes and knocks the thing down. If our houses are built out of straw or sticks, they just burn them up and eat the pigs inside. Oh, well, let's build houses out of brick. I mean, we have to keep figuring out as humans, how do we protect ourselves against these other outrageous things? That's where we're subject to. We didn't design this place. Elohim did, and he stuck us here and then says, don't think about that. You're wrong. You're bad. You're good. Yeah. Is that just the life of being a human on the face of the earth? What is the Battle of Evermore? Well, you punch it up in the Google, and guess what? There is no battle of evermore. Did Jimmy Page and Robert Plant just invent that phrase? Some people will say, well, the word battle of evermore sounds like it is talking about a certain battle scene in that book. Maybe it was similar to some battle on the face of the earth in England and Wales, Scotland or something, but there is no battle of evermore. Why am I mentioning it? Because when I was reading in the Stones Tanakh, Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, it says, and Yahweh declared, I will not, Yod Dalet Vav Nun, I will not wrestle, fight, contend. That's to be in battle with. My Ruach, with man, evermore. I will not battle evermore, my spirit with man, with humanity. The battle of evermore is this. This is what set up Noah's flood, where Yahweh decided to destroy the entire planet. The battle of evermore is humans contending, striving with Elohim. As it was in the days of Noah, Yeshua said it would be at the time of the end. And how was it in the days of Noah? The battle of evermore. Yadon le'olam. Lamed, ayin lamed mem is the word translated evermore. And then the next word, bet shin gimel mem, is the word to connect or bind by suffering. It's the word that's a hinge, a mortise and tenon joint, or twisted reed hinge, to connect, to bind by suffering. And here we were discussing this whole time up until now what it means to be a believer in Yahuwah, or believer in Elohim, a man on the face of the earth who's walking his way of his life pleasing to the gods. Are the Norse correct? Is it Thor and Odin? Are the Catholics correct? Is it the Virgin Mary and gentle Jesus? Is it the Hindus? Is it Islam? Is it the Buddhists? How does a human relate to the unseen, invisible powers, the Elohim? And then for them to allow representatives, B'nai Elohim, who turn into somehow Nephilim. What are the ground rules? How are humans supposed to know what's fair and unfair, what's right and not right? This word wrestle, fight, and contend is spelled Yod Dalet Vav Nun. The word spelled Aleph Dalet Vav Nun is Adon. Aleph Dalet Vav Nun Yod is the word Adonai, which means my Lord, my master. So if you change the Aleph to the Yod, instead of being first person, I decide, or my master, it's he decides, or he's the heavy hand. So Yahweh's saying here, my Ruach, my spirit, is not going to be this heavy hand fighting with mankind forever. I just hate it. I can't stand it. It bothers me. To be connected by suffering. Humans are causing a grief of his suffering, and he's certainly causing a grief of our suffering. 613 laws. There's no law. There's a bunch of laws. There's 10 laws, but one of them's not even a law, and one of them was done away with. Well, then how many laws are we supposed to regard? The strife, the contention. And he says, that's it. I'm not going to do this. So I'm going to kill all of them. I'm going to kill all of them. Oh, that's right. He's got a bad attitude. Or maybe not. We'll see in a moment. This is verse 3, where he says, flesh will exist, imim, that's days. Mem Aleph Hey is translated as to be 100. Asherim, Asher is 10, so Asherim is 20. And the word Shana is years, 120 years. So here he changes. See, if we looked at these 10 generations in chapter 5, Adam lived, I think it's 930 years. Methuselah lived to be, what was it, 985 or something, almost 1,000. The lifespan of all these humans before the flood were pushing 1,000 years. And here he said, that's it. I'm sick of contending with humans, and I'm going to limit them to 120. That's it. And then later he reduces it down to 70. And I'm getting pretty close. I'm at 66 now. What are you doing with your life? Are you fighting with Elohim? Are you making him sick that he ever invented humanity? That's what they were doing in the days of Noah. They were just dogging his cats, goading him to the point of his despair. Wait a minute. Can Elohim despair? Was he surprised? Didn't he invent human consciousness? Doesn't he know the end from the beginning? Doesn't he know every day of every man's life and every thought that would go through his head? Is he taken by surprise? Why is he contending? Doesn't he know this is going to happen? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the engagement of Elohim with humanity, with Adam, isn't exactly what we think or what we thought. Verse 4, the Nephilim existed in the earth in these days and also after, so surely then enters the sons of Elohim towards the daughters of man, and they bore children unto them, that which Ha-Gibborim, the heroes, the champions, the legends of the Titans, as it were, of worldwide fame, men of renown. That's like fabled legends of giants. And this is where you get Greek and Roman gods and where you get ancient stories of myths and fables from the Vikings and the Chinese. And what I'm saying is, here in verse 4, it talks about previous inhabitants of the earth that we can only guess at now, that we have inherited, that he says, when he says, don't let the names of other gods, Elohim Achrim, come out of your mouth. And I mention a guy like Thor. Is that another god or is that an ancient Nephilim? I don't know. It's not Yahweh, but I don't know where these guys come from. If I shouldn't mention Thor, maybe I shouldn't mention Jesus Christ, because the legend of Jesus is very similar to Thor and a bunch of other guys. The World's 16 Crucified Saviors by Kersey Graves talked about that. I don't know. I have no mechanism to determine the truth. Therefore, all I know is that the earth, if you look under the sea, you'll see wreckages, ruins of incredible, great, powerful civilizations that built things out of stone and that had technology, like whoever built the walls of Machu Picchu and other places with, 90-degree angles, fit like a jigsaw puzzle, giant stones. We have no technology, nor can we determine with all our engineering expertise how they did that. We just don't know. Somebody lived on this planet well before this, well, let's call this the race of modern day humans with capacities beyond ours. There's evidence, I think it's in India, that there was a nuclear war where they melted a huge area of sand to be like glass, which can only be with a certain intensity of heat. There's evidence on the pyramids that they have pictures of like tanks and submarines and helicopters and jet planes. A model of a jet plane was found down in the Incas down in Peru? And it's like, I don't know. Jonathan Gray wrote a book, Dead Men's Secrets. Every single page is a story of many things that have been found that we can't explain, that are just mind-boggling. I don't know. the legends of yore. Verse 4 talks about that, and we have no idea, which is why I invoke Deuteronomy 29:28. The things which are not elaborated upon are Yahweh's concern and his business. I don't know. I hear stories, I hear opinions, I hear doctrines. I don't know that. I don't know the truth of the matter. I don't know the truth of what we're being told today regarding medicine, vaccines, history, politics, the world of science, the world of determining the expanse of the universe, religion. I don't know. I can't believe any of them. They're all a bunch of liars as far as I can tell. I don't know. The only thing I know is that Yahweh gave us these words and said, regard the words of this Torah forever. And when humans don't, when they start trying to aspire to be Elohim and messing with genetic mutations, you get Nephilim, which maybe look like the dinosaurs, for all I know. I don't know. So here we are. We're in the same state. What do we do? Verse 5. Vayirah, that's seeing, perceiving, on exhibition, Yahweh. So Yahweh is now watching and observing. Yahweh is seeing something with his own eyes, watching mankind. That because multiplied evil, the Adam, on the earth, all, and then here's this word, Yod Zadi Resh, Yitzar. It means to provide, produce, manufacture, fashion, and create. Mankind was making, fashioning, creating movies, books. Yet Zadi Resh is where you get the word for rock. Mitzrayim, there's the word Egypt, which is the same root word, zar, form, oppression. It means also instinct or bent, which is propensity towards something. So man was fascinated with a propensity of evil and of difficulty and hardships. The next word, mem, chet shin bet. Well, chet shin bet is the word for band or girdle, like what Yeshua was wearing, this golden band in the book of Revelation when John saw him. But it also, chashav means to figure out, sum up, to think, plan, consider, imagine, regard, value, attach importance to a device or an invention, like an abacus. It has to do with something arithmetic, and the mem prefix means to make an object or to provide a place. Is to make movies, write books, make videos. Spend your time thinking, planning, devising, dwelling on it. There's some great TV shows that are all about the evil people doing evil things. Oh, but they have a twist for good. But they're still put your mind on a track of corruption. Lamed Bet Vav, his heart. Resh Kuf, only thin, nothing else except Resh Ayin, evil. All the days, the end of verse 5. All day long, every day, man's heart contemplating, dwelling on evil. But that word evil, Resh Ayin, also means to think. It's a noise or a shout. It's a plan. It's a purpose. It's like whether you're doing evil or dwelling on thinking about evil. What are the evil people doing? We don't know the evil people. Let's invent stories of pirates and spies and, oh gosh, war movies. I watched them. They're very entertaining. But are we doing wrong? Are we doing less than optimal by observing those matters? Verse 6. Vav Yod Nun Chet Mem. Inachem. Well, Nun Chet is the word Noah. So looking back at what does Noah mean? Noah means Nun Vav Chet or Nun Chet is to take an airplane into a landing strip, just to bring it down. It also means quiet and rest. It also means to be led and guided. So when you see a runway, if you're up in the air and you see a runway down and you're flying into a city and there it is, we're being led and guided by these lights. And the pilot brings this airplane in and that's the word Noah. Enoch. It means to have compassion, sorry, repent, grieved, consoled, comforted himself. It also in the Red Dictionary, Klein's Dictionary says, like a horse to breathe pantingly. Why does a dog or a horse or a human breathe pantingly? Because they've been exerting themselves and they're trying to recover. And if you didn't know anything about science and physiology and you say, well, the person's just, wait a minute, why? Well, they're trying to get rid of carbon dioxide and bring in oxygen to replenish because of their cells in their blood, the oxygen, because of the way that biology was built by Elohim. It's an action with a purpose because of the way things are designed. It also means try to recover, to restore and bring redemption. Why am I elaborating this? This is verse 6 of chapter 6 of Genesis. The next word, Yahweh, because Yahweh is the one doing this. Ki asha et ha'adam ba'aretz, vav yod tov ayin zadi bet el levo. It's translated, and Yahweh had remorse and was sorry that he had made the man on the earth. And this word, ayin zadi bet, it pained his heart that he had made man on the earth. And so now we look at this and go, he repented that he had ever made humanity. Didn't he know? Doesn't he know the end from the beginning? Didn't he know that man was going to do this? Didn't he make provision for man to have a corrupt heart, knowing that man would corrupt his heart, knowing that he was going to send the flood, knowing that Noah and his sons and their wives are going to be the only 8 that survived the flood, and that he was going to have a whole new thing? Why did it pain his heart? Why did he regret ever having made man? That's the way this verse is translated. There's another way to read this. And Yahweh had compassion. Because the word ayin shin hey doesn't just mean to make or do or cause or to force or compel, but it also means he observed. Yahweh had compassion, kaf yod aseh, when he observed that man on earth had pain and sadness toward his heart. Towards whose heart? The man's or Elohim's? See, in Hebrew, it could be read both ways, and you don't know. So I can read this, that Yahweh was so mad, so grieved, that he regretted that he ever made humanity on the face of the earth, that his heart was pained. Now, maybe that's true. But the other way to read this is that Yahweh himself had a pained heart when he saw that the human was so obsessed with violence and sadness in his heart. Now, I don't have any children, but I've heard people say that when they see their children pained in heart, the parent feels the pain. What's the matter, honey? And so Yahweh did something about it. That's Nachem. He did something about it to restore and bring redemption. Because man had gotten so locked up in pain, hurt, and sadness. That word atzev, ayin zadi bet, also means toil, nervous, vexed. It also is the word that means idol, image, form, shape, or fashion, which is very much similar to zadi resh, form, fashion. It's to put a leather fabric on a saddle frame. So in other words, man had become lost in the idolatry, in the form, the look, lost track of the reality. Man was seeing the flesh, but not the DNA. And man was grieved that he was on the face of the earth. Why is suicide these days so extreme, such high numbers? Interesting, the word Ayin Zadi Bet is also the word that means wild rose. So the picture of a wild rose, the name of the wild rose in Hebrew is the Etzev. Ayin Zadi Bet. Zadi Bet is the word like for turtle and covered wagon, to swell up. Zavot is host or legion or army, and Ayin Zadi is tree or wood, or to be able to perceive and understand, to have open eyes or to be closed eyes, it reminds me of the story. Elisha said, don't be afraid, there's more with us than there is with them. The valley was filled with soldiers of the opposite army that were coming to attack and take him as a captive. And yet when Elisha's friend's eyes were opened, he saw the mountains filled with flaming chariots of angels and horses of Yahuwah's Zavot. To have your eyes opened to what's really going on is Ayin Zadi Bet, but to have our eyes with a leather fabric, as it were, over the appearance of things completely changing what it really is, that has completely ruined man's heart, is kind of where we are today. The interesting thing about reading the Paleo Hebrew is that it is the DNA of Elohim. It's the DNA of reality. It's like that saddle frame, that the appearance of things, the flesh, the skin stretched over the structure, the basar over the seed, is an idol, an image, a form. It's not real. It's not true. The reason everybody lies about what's going on is because they don't know the truth. The reason for studying this language is because it is the truth. Verse 7, declares Yahweh, Aleph Mem Chet Hey, Mem Chet, to recognize as an expert, an authority, to wipe out, hinder, strike upon, protest. It also means to assign payment or dissolve. Well, the payment assigned to the people that had destroyed the earth was to be dissolved in a flood, Noah's flood, as it's called. Aleph Tav Ha'adam Asher Bet Resh Aleph Tav Yod. Bratty. People were acting bratty. The word Bet Resh Aleph Tav Yod suffix means I will, and Bet Resh Aleph Bereshit, the first three letters of Genesis 1. The second word is Bet Resh Aleph also. Bet Resh Aleph Shin Yod Tav, and then Bet Resh Aleph. Bet Resh Aleph means cut down the forest, recover, make healthy from upon the face of Ha'adamah, the earth, Ma'adam, take Adam away. And Ayin Dalet means witness or along with. Behema, that's animals, along with Ramash, which is those the creep, crawl, swarm, and teeming. Va'ad Uf, which is birds of the heavens, because Nun Chet Mem, there's that word again, Nacham Ti, I will restore or bring redemption, because, and then the last word, Ayin Shin Yod Tav Mem, well, Ayin Shin Tav is thought, idea, to think, consider, become stout. Tav Mem means they, because they have a stout heart, meaning they won't relent. The people just won't back off from the evil. That's the end of verse 7. Why are we talking about this? So that we ourselves will back off from those evil thoughts and be the people that Yahweh wished he had for the last 6,000 years. We're trying to be the people of his heart. We're trying to talk about these matters to affect a change so that we won't be the same type of generation as the generation in the days of Noah that would rock Ra only, nothing else except for evil all day, every day, in their heart. Think, ponder, regard, attach importance to. Do not attach importance to and ponder and consider and invent devices of evil. What do you think the Inquisition was? Oh, they're doing it to convert Jews to Christianity. What a travesty. the Inquisition, the Holocaust, humans trying to cleanse the earth and creating Nephilim. Yahweh came down to suffer. Yahweh sent Yeshua down in the form of a man to suffer in our place because he knew that we would never aspire to his place. Now we read in the first meanings of the 10 names there that I read. Verse 8, Noach found Chen. Interesting play on words. Nun chet, chet nun. Nun chet, found. That's the word matzah, mem zadi aleph, like the feast of matzah, unleavened bread, to find out how to do something. Lining up with the Torah, lining up with the barbecue, lining up with the hoe and the furrows, planting seed. Why I'm bringing out these meanings is because you realize that the way to find is to have the seed of Yahweh's word of truth planted in your heart from the Torah. And I can say that because Mem Zadi Aleph, Mem Zadi is the word matzah, it means I find out how to do something. Lines up with the festival of the Chag of Matzot. Lines up with right inside the fence is the barbecue grill, which is the letters Kaf and Lamed. Again, it goes back to the Mishkan pattern. To find grace, grace is chet nun. Chanini is where you get the word for daisy. Grace, favor, charming, coquette-ish, a quaint shop. In the eyes of Yahweh, in his eyes, be coquettish in his eyes. Noah is the only one who figured out how to be darling in Yahuwah's eyes. In the eyes, bet ayin yod nun yod. Take out the yods and you get ayin nun. What's ayin nun? It's the word used for Yom Kippur, to be humbled, afflicted, occupied. Ayin nun hey means answer, sing, bow down, busy. Make it your concern. Why are we talking about studying the language? Because it's Yahweh's heart expressed in words and letters. How do you find grace? How did Noach find Chen? By being occupied with Yahweh's personal concerns. That's verse 8. That's what these letters are. I find it serendipitously, which is to say coincidental timing, that right now, at the time when we're being scared and told you can't do this and you can't do that, the Nephilim pounding their chest, yeah, do what I say. The stinking damn government with Billy Gates and George Soros and Clintons and Bushes and whoever else is running this world. And Yahweh says, do what I say. I said to you, Kurt, a very interesting from Aleph Bet. Rabbi David Foreman just put up a video comparing Shavuot to the manna. Now, I keep saying that Shavuot lines up with Mem Nun. Mem, pondering the Torah in your heart, and what comes out is this birthing, and that your noon is being fed by the flesh of your basar. It's all the same picture, and it zodis as the grave opens up, and zodi out blossoms and flourishes, kuf spreading the wing and flying up into the air like a kuf balloon, a round circle with a tail on it, like a kite, resh status. And Rabbi Foreman, because he reads Hebrew, he has a great way of showing you stuff that you'd never see. The language of the manna being provided is exactly the same phrasing in Hebrew as the Pharaoh demanding that they make more bricks or the same number of bricks without straw. You'll have to watch the study. You can read it. You can just punch it up, Aleph Bet, and read the text. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. They ask for a donation, but however you want to do that. But what I'm saying is that he is equating Yahweh saying, Pharaoh put demands on you to work harder. Yahweh says, take a break. Pharaoh says, I'm going to give you bread so that you will work. Yahweh says, I'm going to give you twice as much bread on Friday so that you don't work on Saturday or on the seventh day. There's this parallel offsetting that Shavuot, 50 days of counting, is all to say he's the opposite of the overlords of the earth. And we have no appreciation of him because we were not told that that is Yahuwah, our Elohim. We were given a false comprehension of Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel. And I did not and do not find in Christianity, even to this day, that any Christian voice I have ever heard has ever accurately described Yahuwah being testified to by his Moedim. Sorry, just haven't. John Vandenberg, Seventh-day Adventist elder, was running a group down in Terra Bella, California, where they were keeping the Moedim, and he got kicked out of the SDA church for doing so, from what I understand. He's the only nominal Christian that I know of who has ever promoted the Sabbath day in the Moedim. Now, maybe there's others. I just haven't never heard of them. Why is that? If Yahuwah says, these are my choice, best, treasured adornment, ornamentation, bejewelment, these are my festivals, Leviticus 23. No, nailed to the cross, done away with. Even the SDAs won't even regard them. Do they even know him? Do they even know him? Wouldn't recognize him if he came dressed up in them. Verse 9. Allah toldata Noach, ish zadik, tamim haya bedartio et ha-Elohim ha-tahalaka Noach. These the children of Noach. Noach, his name mentioned twice, a man zadik, righteous, just. But we're told there's none righteous. Here Noah is called righteous. There's none righteous, no, not one. Well, we've heard that that was misphrased because John the Baptist's parents were called righteous. Tamim, perfect. Tav mem, yod mem, perfect, artless, innocent, naive. Does that mean Noah was perfect? But then it says bed dart in among his generation. So it's said that perhaps all the other people on the face of the earth had blended DNA with, let's call them reptilians, the demon seed, the Nephilim. Well, some people are saying that's what they're trying to do with these vaccinations with the COVID, that it has nothing to do with COVID, it has nothing to do with the flu virus, that it's actually, they're trying to, the World Health Organization, thanks to Mr. Gates, is that they're trying to inject a type of RNA that will give you, essentially, make your body rebel against you and produce prions, which actually were the source of mad cow disease that was going on back in the 80s that people seem to have forgotten, turning your brain into a condition of what's called spongiform encephalitis, where it just turns into a bunch of holes eroding from the inside out to where you can't think, you become inhuman. And that it'll start having an effect in 4 to 6 months, if not certainly by 2 years. So according to some, to take the vaccine will turn you into a non-human, turn your brain into mush, change your DNA. Is that true? I don't know. Maybe those guys are lying too. Make up your own decision. But for whatever the case, Noach did not have any perverted DNA in his generation. That's the way some people take this. But he walked with Elohim, proceeded. Hey Tav, hey Lamed Kaf. He proceeded. Tav, hey Lamed, hey means praise, glory, fame, song of praise, but it's also folly, error, sin, profanation. All I can say is from reading this is that I choose to not have my DNA messed with. I will do the best I can to walk in the ways of Elohim. And perhaps Noah and his sons were the only ones on the face of the earth. Will Yahweh preserve us who choose to be his people? Verse 10, and the children of Noah, 3 sons, et Shem, et Chem, vaet Yifat. Again, the name of his 3 sons. The word Shem means name, fame, renown, reputation, place, and occupation. The word Ham, heat, warmth, but Chama, het mem he, means sea, protect, sun, fever, wrath, poison, or anger. And when you put the lamed prefix, lachem, you get the word bread and battle. So the thing about hem, it's not good or bad. It just means warm, maybe even passionate. You come together to have a warm piece of bread with a family, with your friends for dinner, but you could also get together for a battle or a conflict, which may be a game, maybe a war. It just means heat or warmth. And then yod pei tav, where you get the word for pita bread, or the bread which opens up, the Middle Eastern type of bread. Yifa, yod pei he means fair, beautiful, improved. It's an engraving where you take like Yahweh took his finger and cut into the engraving, cut into the stone, to cut into. It's the same picture as the furrow in the ground where you cut into the earth, open it up, and drop the seed in. It's a word for Ifa, beauty or splendor. That's the name of Noah's 3 sons. A place of warmth and beauty. You go back to the name of the 10. So I was saying that Yeshua was sent from heaven to earth to train and teach us, leading us. He came on expedition because of us being poor, depressed, and lonely, to lead us to a place of warmth and beauty. That's the message I see in not only the name of the first 10, but also the 3 sons of Noah, which is why he led them out of Egypt to Mount Sinai. The word Sinai, again, means erudite scholarship. He takes them out of a place of service and bondage where they can't do anything hardly but think about where to find a straw and why have you oppressed us, and says, here, I'm going to give you whatever you need so that you can diligently study and ponder my words. Wow, thank you, Yahweh. The ultimate treasure, the ultimate gift. And he sent Yeshua to lead us in that path, in that way. Thank you, Yahweh. A whole different reality, a whole different, I like this background scene of this kind of island paradise in the Gan Eden, the Garden of Delight. Ayin Dalet Nun, luxurious, voluptuous, pleasant, delightful. That's what Eden means, Ayin Dalet Nun. Verse 10, no, excuse me, verse 11. Here's an interesting word. Vav tav shin het tav. Ve ta shachat. Shin het, that's the root of the word Messiah. This is what I was getting at, that we were saying that the people in Israel right now, a bunch of them, I don't know how many, but they're heralding some young man, 30-year-old guy, as being the Messiah. And I mentioned earlier that I got this book in the Jewish bookstore about Messiah. What do the Jews think the Messiah is? There's a half a dozen different definitions. One of them is not a God-man. They don't think of the Messiah as God coming to earth or someone coming to earth from heaven. That's not the definition of a Messiah. Not to the Jews, anyway. It's kind of the Christian definition of Christ or Messiah, but it's not the definition. They're not looking to a God-man. So when they say, here's a Messiah, they don't mean here's God in the form of a human. Different definition of words. But here the word Vav Tav Shin Het Tav. Shin Het is the root word because Mashiach, Mem Shin Yod Het, you take out the Yod and you take out the Mem suffix, Shin Het is the root word. Shin Het Tav means to lay waste, ruin, corrupted, spoiled, destroyed. A Mem Shin Het is a grave or a pit. It's a swimming hole. Mashak can mean swimmer. It means to bow down, to put your face in the water to go swimming. You have to bow down. So too, if you contemplate and meditate, you put your head down. If you're humble, ayin nun, in the eyes of Yahweh, the same word, to be occupied with studying his things, taking it to heart, downcast and humble, it's all the same meaning as shin chet and ayin nun, what we're told to do on the day of Yom Kippur, and to walk humbly before your Elohim, Micah 6:8, same word. Micah 6:8, he has so told you, oh man, what is good, what is tov, and what Elohim requires of you. Do justly, that's mishpat. Love mercy, chesed, mercy. Walk humbly, ayin nun hey, with your Elohim. And because the humans on the face of the earth refused, because all they wanted to do was contemplate violence, Yahweh brought destruction. Look around. That seems to be, at least in North America, what we're doing. Only we're not doing that. We're trying to seek the face of Yahuwah, but Yahweh looked down at the earth, and the face of the earth, it says the Elohim. Ve'tashachat haaretz lifnei ha'elohim. So the face of the earth was laid waste, corrupted, spoiled, destroyed. And the fullness of the earth was Hamas. You know that group up in Lebanon known as Hamas? That's Chet Mem Samik. Here it is, the last word in verse 11, and it means violence, robbery, wrong, injury. It's also the name of a hot, dry east wind. Okay, the face of the earth was filled with Hamas. So that little group up there in Lebanon who says, yeah, we're going to be named Hamas. We're going to do violence, robbery, and injury. That's the very thing which Elohim was disgusted, hated, and had to get rid of. So why doesn't he get rid of Hamas now? Why doesn't he get rid of them? Because the people of Israel are not doing justice. Zadikah and Mishpat. What I can see in the scripture, it says when Israel does Zadikah and Mishpat, then the Mishpat, the balancing of scales of justice, is that Zadikah, meaning not only righteousness, but victory, deliverance, and salvation, will come in like a flood to balance the scales. So Yahweh put within the power of Israel to change the scales of balance for the entire earth by doing goodness, kindness, truth, right ruling of justice. And when we do the right thing, then all the bad stuff that the Hamas people have been doing, that the evil people, the wicked, the Resh Shinayan people have been doing, the teeter-totter shifts, the burden of responsibility on us. So for me to talk against the Christian church is to say, if any voice, whether it's Christian or any other voice, if any voice says, we don't have to do anything but believe in Jesus, and Yahweh says, oh no, the burden of responsibility is on you to start doing righteousness. And for the voice of the doctrine to say, there's none righteous, nobody can do righteousness, all you have to do is believe that Jesus was righteous, and that's it, it's all handled. Not true. Do righteousness. Look for occasions to do righteousness. That's what Yahweh demands of his people. How do you do that? Well, now you got to spend the rest of your life finding occasions to do and be righteous. And it'll tip the scales. And the violence of the violent will vile their own heads. But verse 12, but perceived by Yirah Elohim et haaretz hine na shachta ki ha shakit kol basar, all flesh, et derek. That's the way, the conduct, the manner, al haaretz. And Elohim perceived the earth, behold, Nun Shin Chet Tav. That we get the root of the word Mashiach. Laid waste, ruined, spoiled. For so thus the Shach, because Adam spoiled the earth, I will spoil all flesh. That's what it says here. According to the way upon the face of the earth. Here's the balancing of scales. Because every man but Noah and his 3 sons has spoiled, corrupted, and ruined and laid waste the earth, then he was going to allow his way, you might say, to find its fullness. Yahweh is going to give them according to their way. Noah found chen. Noah found what it means to be charming in the determination of Yahuwah's eyes. How do you do that? What did he say? Shema Israel. Ve'ahavta et Yahweh Elohecha. Ve'kol avivka uve'kol nafshecha uve'kol meodecha. Love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, all your mind and soul, and all your madly, all your sit down in Shabbat. Keep his moedim. And anyone, regardless of the label you put on them, if they say, no, we're not going to do it. Okay, then let them not do it. But we will do it. We will count to 50. We will count 7 sevens. We will eat matzah for a week. We will regard the day of Passover. We will blow trumpets on Yom Teruah. We will answer and reply and respond on Yom Kippur, whether it means to don't eat or whether it means to feed the hungry. Make up your own mind. We will hang out in tents and sukkahs for a week in the autumn, because that's dear to the eyes of Yahuwah.